Hi, it's Sandy Parker and welcome to Crafting for Almost Everyone. Today we're going to be working on part 2 of my travel journal and I hope you'll stay tuned. If you watch the first part, I worked on covering the outside of this piece. Now if you've never made a journal before, I'm going to link videos where I've made journals like this. I didn't make this one, it came in a kit I bought, so unfortunately I can't show you how to make this one, but I will, as I said, link a video where I made one, and you should be able to follow that pretty easily. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cover the inside of our journal. I'm going to show you some of the things I did, some of the things that I thought were smart that I did, and some things that were probably not so smart, but I did them anyway. You know how I roll. If you've never watched my channel, you're going to find out the hard way that I'm funnier than I am efficient. That's what we'll say. Okay, so I'm going to put glue all over this side. Now I do have tear tape, which is double-sided adhesive, all over my back of the paper that I'm using for this, but I have trouble with getting things to lay perfectly straight the first time, so we're not going to have a problem with this, are we? No, we are not. This is the back of the paper I'm using, and this is the front. I want to make sure I get it straight because, you know, it's right side up, because it is a map of the world. Okay, my finger stuck to that. Get off me! Get off! Oh, okay, it's still on me. This is a map of the world, and so it would be kind of embarrassing if it was upside down. Am I making sense to you? I think I probably am. As I said, it's already got tear tape on it. Oh, and I went around the edges with, what did I go around the edges with? Brushed Corduroy from Distress Oxide, just to make sure that it looked weathered. You know how maps kind of look better when they're older and more weathered? Well, I thought about using tea dye, which is this color, and I didn't think it really matched my background, nor did it match my hand. See how my hand looks so much better with the brushed corduroy on it? I'm saying, that's just how I roll. Anyway, the tea dye didn't make it for me, so I went with the corduroy. I'm going to glue on this side. I see my bottom edges here aren't happy to be here either. They're not wanting to stick. I also, well, you'll see this in a second. I also put the pin on that I bought. I bought a bunch of charms from Temu. If this is your first time hearing about this project, I bought a bunch of charms from Temu because I thought it would be fun to have a bunch of accessories on this journal. Not just a journal, but one that's, you know, frisky and something that I can look back on and really be impressed with myself for making it. Who am I kidding? That's not going to happen. Anyway, okay, so the front of my book, I'm pretty sure, yeah. I'm making sure it's right side up, and it is. I put my elastic wrap back through the hole. If you remember, when we covered the front of this, I wanted to make sure that I poked a hole there so that I would be able to know where that hole is once I covered it with paper. Because once you cover it with paper, there's no going back. You won't be able to see where that belongs. And now I'm gonna, well, I'm gonna make my pockets first. I was going to cover this section, but I bought this pin that has a passport and a globe and a plane. I thought that would be really fun to have as like a dangle on the side. So when I did that, of course I can't put it in the middle. These things happen to me. You know that happens. I have these little pieces that I'm going to glue in here that are the same size as my paper. I also went around the edges with my brushed corduroy, but I think I'm going to do a little bit more around the top because I want to have a good line. See how I made that darker? I want it darker. That's what I'm saying. I want it darker. Same with the top of this one. Ooh. I did go around all the edges with the ink, but I didn't. The top, as I said, I really wanted the top to stand out. On the back of this, I put very, very thin tear tape. I'm sure you can see that. It's white. I'm going to take that tear tape off, but I'm also going to put some wet glue. The reason for that is tear tape can become, over time, it can loosen up. Glue should not loosen up over time. I'll put a very thin line of this glue all the way to the top and all the way across my bottom. So this one, I'm just going to put right like this. But when I lay this down, I don't know if you've ever heard anybody tell you this, but I'm going to be the first if not. When you put this down, you're going to want to push all your sides, but you're going to want to kind of pinch in from the corners, from the left and right sides. I'm going to show you why. See this piece of paper? When I do this, it gives me just a teeny tiny gap, and that allows me to put papers in there easier. If I didn't do that, it would be flat. I don't know, can you see that it's got a gap there? Hopefully you can. Okay, let's do the other side. And I already have what I want to put in these ready to go. I mentioned this in the other video, but I'll tell you more in this video. Last July 4th, I decided to be really fun to trip on a stick. I mean, a stick. It wasn't a log, it was a stick. And my knee and my hip are both titanium. So when your knee and your hip are titanium, they don't go anywhere. That's just the way it works. They stay where they are. Well, the thing that doesn't stay is the femur, which is the thickest bone on your body, and it's the bone that's in your upper thigh. My femur did this, we'll call it, twisty thing that it's not supposed to do. And it didn't come out of the skin, which would make it a compound fracture, but it did, we'll call it, make a shard, so that I had to have surgery to try and put that piece back in some kind of semblance of order. So they did that, and everything we thought was going fine until I had physical therapy. And when physical therapy came, they started talking about my incision and how my incision looked, we'll call it, bad. And by bad, I mean it had a scab on it that was kind of darker than it should have been. And when a scab is darker than it should be, it means that underneath it's probably not healing, which mine wasn't. So, I know this is a long and boring story, but I'm telling it to you anyway. Because, you know, we got nothing to do but glue this down. I'm going to push this in again to show you that little gap. So anyway, we couldn't get my leg to heal, so I was using a wheelchair, and because I couldn't get my leg to heal, and because the bone takes so long to heal because it is the biggest bone in your body, they told me it would be months for the healing of the bone. Well, I'm okay with months for that, but I didn't realize that meant 7 months of being in a wheelchair and not being able to walk. So I wasn't thrilled that I wasn't walking, but I mean, frankly, I've had a lot of weird health things, so it wasn't the worst thing that's ever happened to me. But then in November, I went to my dermatologist and had 3 different spots looked at. No, they did biopsies. I have very, very fair skin. Very fair skin. Probably the whitest skin you've ever seen. But anyway, and as a kid, there really wasn't a lot of sunblocker when I was a kid. So because there wasn't a lot of sunblocker, we, obviously there was number 4. That was the big sunblocker. That's all we used. And so when the biopsies came back, I had one spot on, I'm going to pull that down so you can see it. There it is. It's going to get used to being folded. Okay, so I had one spot on my face that was basal cell cancer, which isn't a big cancer, but you have to have it taken out, and it's kind of a deep thing, but not super deep. Then I had on my head, on the top left side of my head, I had squamous cells. I'm sorry, I always get that wrong. I don't know how to say it. And that also required surgery, and it also was not a big deal at all. I mean, when doctors tell me about surgeries, they always are worried that I'm going to freak out, and I don't know why, because I have had so many surgeries that, when they tell me I'm going to have a big incision, I'm like, is it the length of my leg? Because if it's not the length of my leg, it's not really that big. But anyway, they said the third one, my mother had melanoma. And so the third one on the back of my left arm was melanoma. And I went to the skin surgeon, and he was like, you know what? This is really good news. We got this early. I think all we're going to have to do is take out the melanoma and get a good clean border around it, and you'll be fine. Great. I'm thrilled. I don't know what happened in the meantime, if he looked at x-rays or pathology or what he looked at, but anyway, he came back and said, you are 1/10 of a millimeter deeper than stage 1. So now you're stage 2, which means we're going to need to look at taking out a lymph node and having your lymph node to determine if your lymph node is in fact, I don't really know what the plan is with the lymph nodes. I guess what the deal is they inject, I'm going to call it a dye, but it's not really a dye. They inject something in 4 spots around on each of the top and bottom on both sides of the original incision from the first melanoma cancer surgery. And they inject this dye into it. And wherever this dye goes to first, the first lymph node it gets to, that's the one they want to take out, because that's the one that has the most chance of the cancer migrating to. So they did the injections, and by the way, that was really bad. I wouldn't recommend anybody ever doing that, but I did it. And anyway, so I had them take the photo. The first photo came back, nothing lit up. Well, that didn't make them happy. They needed something to light up. So we did it 7 different times. And in the meantime, they had me twirling my arm and doing all this crazy stuff. But in the meantime, nothing ever lit up, which we thought that must be a good thing, because wouldn't that mean like it wouldn't you think that's a good thing? And the surgeon seemed to think it was a good thing. and he didn't have to take any lymph nodes out, and he didn't put a drain in. So all those things were good. But my dermatologist is really worried about why didn't they light up. And at this point, I just am glad it didn't light up. But anyway, so I went in after I had the test done. I went in and they took a lot of the skin on my arm out. And I mean a lot. The greatest part about this whole thing is that I no longer have chicken fat on the underneath of that arm. You know how as we get older, we get that skin under our arm, you know, that skin that flops around. My other arm doesn't do that. I'm just saying, it's a miracle. But anyway, so that happened in January. So as all this stuff happened, Rich and I decided we really needed to have something to look forward to. Long story, very long story, is that we decided that we would do a trip. And that's why I'm making this journal, is because I've always wanted to go across the Atlantic Ocean on a ship. And I've always wanted to see Paris, and I've always wanted to see London. And the ship that we're going on goes from New York City, and you cruise out of the New York Harbor, which is beautiful. We've done that before. It's really pretty because you cruise right by the Statue of Liberty. It's beautiful. But anyway, we're going there, and I want to have a journal that I can record everything of this trip in it. I always do record things from trips, but this is going to be more fun because I've got, I showed in the other video, I bought charms that I'm going to put, this is going to be the paper clip for London because it's Big Ben. And then I have an Eiffel Tower, and I have the Arc de Triomphe for Paris. So I have a whole bunch of these paper clips, and I'm going to put them in there related to the city that they go with. We're going to make the covers for our signatures. We've already done the big outside journal cover, and I'm going to give you some measurements for that. But for now, these are all my extras that I've been playing with. We're going to start with the 12 by 12 piece of scrapbook paper, and I always score on the back of mine. You can score however you want. With your pattern, if yours has a direction, and mine does, you can see my map faces up. I want to make sure my map still faces up, and I'm going to go to the 6-inch mark, and I'm going to score. Then I'm going to score one line before the 6 and one line after the 6. That way I can make it so that my spine can grow, basically. Then, to make it so that, if you watch the first one, I made lines to make sure I knew exactly where to fold it closed. Because if you make your marks in the wrong place, you're going to end up having bulging when you close your book. And you don't want it to bulge. That's bad. You're going to do the left side at 1.5. If you're left-handed, it's easier to score on your left side. If you're right-handed, it's the reverse. It's easier to score on your right side. So I'm going to turn my paper all the way around. So now that 1.5-inch score is now, on the right side over here. It's up and down. And I'm going to score again at 1.5 inches. Then I'm going to turn it one turn. So now all of our scores that were going up and down, now they're all horizontal. They're all going across this way. So then you're going to score at 1 3/4. And I'm going to turn it around because that's how I roll. And 1 3/4 again. You just want to make sure that you have all those scores. Then you're going to do that on all of your covers. And I have 3 books, so I'll have 3 covers, obviously. So I did this with 3 different pieces of cardstock, scrapbook paper, whatever you call it. I guess cardstock is 8.5 by 11, and I don't know. Scrapbook paper is 12 by 12. These are the books we're covering. So if you covered books in school, this should be no surprise to you, but here's how you're going to play the game with me. You're going to fold all of your scores. I don't know why this one doesn't really feel like folding, even though I know I scored it. This is my paper is Old World Maps, I think it's called, from Die Cuts with a View. I bought it at Joann's, and I just bought it recently, so you should have no trouble finding it if you want maps. And I think they're really cool. They have a lot of really great designs in there. I'm folding down my bottom and my top now. You're going to want to fold in those ones at the 6-inch mark, because you're going to want at least the 6-inch one to be folded. Clearly, I think I folded one of them and not the right one. The one that really is important is that one in the center, your 6-inch score. And you just have to be kind of patient with this scoring part. And just make sure they're lined up. So we're going to fold up the bottom and the top. And we're going to fold in both sides. I'm going to put a little bit of a crease on that one because I want this one to hold its shape. And then I'm going to fold in this one. Again, back to our school book days. And then you're going to make sure, when you look at your journal, you're going to make sure that if it has a direction, and this one is lined, and see how the top is a direction. You want it to be facing up. Look at your map again on the front and make sure that your map is facing the right direction, and mine is. You're going to open the back of the book and you're going to slide it into these slots. Sorry, we're having a thunderstorm, so if you hear dogs barking or thunder, I apologize. It's one of those days. And then you're going to do the same thing over here. You're going to slide. Did you hear that? That was a good thunder right there. I'm just going to slide these bad boys in. They'll go in a minute. It just takes them a little bit of bendy time. And as time goes on and you use these more, they will definitely loosen up. But I think I explained, if you don't do your folds right at the beginning, like if you didn't make that 1.5 inch or whatever I told you on the left and the right, if you didn't make those scores on the left and the right in the right places, this book will never stay closed. And I think you're thinking right now, well, it's not staying closed now. Trust me, this is great compared to what it could be. Let me quickly, this one has already been folded once, so it should be pretty easy to get in here. And hopefully it is, because, you know, it's a drag when they're not. You can, if you want to, you can put some tear tape there to hold it in place, but I like to use those ends as pockets in case when I'm doing something, like if I go to a restaurant and I get like a mini menu, or if I get something that I want to keep and remember to put into the book later, that really works great for that. There's my second one. Okay, I want you to know this. I did this one 4 times before I realized I don't know what I was doing wrong, but I kept getting it upside down. These are the things you got to wonder about me. You know, like how does she make it through a day when she can't even get paper the right way up? You know what I'm saying? Okay, so here are our 3. Now, when you are making the outside, as far as measurements go, I made mine, I kept it the 12 inches wide, and I think I kept it the 12 inches, the 12 inches up and down. And then I just cut here so I could fold paper up, and I cut there so I could fold paper down. Otherwise, you won't be able to put your inserts in. I have a bunch of stickers that I got from Temu. Oh, I want to tell you too, it's been very humid here, and for some reason that means my glue and my tear tape and everything else has not wanted to play along. I don't know why, but I'm gonna go back in and glue it down again and shoot for, can we make this thing stay glued in? I don't know. Like that. And I even used pinchy things to make sure that it was, like I used, I don't know, I used little clips to make sure that it was going to be staying in there, and of course the clips didn't make a difference. And I'm going to hold the bottom in place for a second, and then I'm going to get a couple clips and try this again to get it to stay where I put it. As far as my pockets went, let me tell you how big they are. If I can read this ruler. Okay, there's inches. No. Okay. In inches, this is 4 3/4 inch wide and tall. The height doesn't really matter. It is a little bit over 3 inches tall, or maybe it is 3 inches tall. That's for these two pockets. You'll want to have some pockets to put things like this. These are a bunch of stickers I got from Temu. They have some British things in them. They have some Paris things. Just all kinds of different things that'll be handy for where we're going. Then the next thing I wanted to tell you is, I'm sure you remember I had a brown rubber elastic like this that went in this spot. What I decided was that didn't make me altogether happy, and the reason it didn't was because it was already so short and so tight that I was never going to be able to get anything in this book. I mean, oh, that's one other thing I want to do first. So I wouldn't be able to get anything in the book, and that didn't work for me. I wanted to use scissors, but I don't know if scissors will work. You want to, when you're doing this, at the top and the bottom of your book, and this is your signatures, you're going to need to cut a little snip out of the middle of it. You see the notch I cut at the bottom? Well, I was a little uneven in that one. You're going to want to cut a notch that is centered right there. And your notch doesn't need to be as big as mine, but I wanted to make sure mine was kind of exaggerated so you can see it. When you put this in, you want to be able to make sure, let me get this out, that when you put it in your elastic, that your elastic has a way to hold on to it. And when you put that notch in there, I know you're thinking to yourself, is she ever going to get it in the book? I probably will. Do you see now how it's not going to go anywhere? That's because I did that little notch. So you're going to want to do that on all 3 of your books. So let me do mine and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I cut all of the little inner, well, bottom and top pieces, and I'll show you that so you can see how easily they fit in now. See, can you see right here, this rubber? It won't move because it's got that little notch cut into it. So I really recommend you doing that. You don't have to, but it does make it a lot easier to keep your inserts in there, and you can still pull them out. It's not like it's permanent. So then I think I told you I didn't like the brown elastic that went around this. There was 2 reasons. I didn't like it because it was too short, and I also didn't like it because I want my closure to go like this, up and down. instead of side to side or around the side. That's what I want it to look like. Now, when I did this, I gave myself plenty of room to navigate it. And the reason is because I don't know how big it's going to get. So I have this much extra that I didn't knot, and I'll show you that in just a second. But I also wanted to be able to hang this at a spot where it's going to be tied up here. So I have to figure out a way to tie it up there. I can just put it up there for now and then tie it later, I guess. Okay, let me just hook it up there so that you know what I am speaking. I like the idea of having all these cute dangly things on here. This is what's going to make it completely uniquely mine, if you get what I'm saying. And all I did was it had where did it go? Here it is right here. It had a keychain on it. And so all I did was take the keychain off, and now all I'm going to do is use my little plier things that I'm not good with, as I'm sure you can imagine. There's that. I am not, as I said, I'm not taking this off until I'm completely done with my journal, because as my journal grows, and it's going to grow, I'm going to end up having to take, like, there's going to be more of that elastic taken up by photos and papers that I'm going to add in here. Something, I don't know if I told you this or not, but I bought a camera that makes little Polaroid pictures that are like this big. And I bought 50 of the little Polaroid pictures, and I'm just going to add them in my book as we go. And I have my map that I want to put in, but I'm not going to glue that in until I decide where I want to glue it in. So I'm just going to put it right there. And I don't know if you noticed, some of these spots, the glue just didn't want to hold, so I'm going to have to work on that. And then I'm going to put in all of these for now. I'm just going to, I think I'm going to hang them in my little book, my little pocket for some of them, and then some of them as I go I'll put them in. If you didn't see these in the very beginning when I did the first or second one, I bought these from Temu. They're little travel charms. And what my plan is let's say that this day I'm at sea. So I'm going to put this right here because it's got a ship there. Then let's say this day I'm in Great Britain because it's toward the end. So I'm just going to put Big Ben back there. Then before I see Big Ben, we're going to be in Paris. So maybe this day is all about Paris. So I'll hang the Eifel Tower right there, like that. And then I have the Arc de Triomphe also for my Paris day. So I could put that on one day, or maybe we have lots of things I write about Paris, then I would put that there. And then there'll be a day that I'm flying home, so I'll have an airplane for that day. And then there's a day that we are in New York City, going to the front. The day in New York City is at the beginning, so I've got the Statue of Liberty that'll go there, and then we will catch the ship, but you'll have to use your passport. So I'll put my passport there, and then we go to Canada, and in Nova Scotia there's supposed to be a lighthouse, or maybe that was Ireland. I'm sorry, I'm not good on all this. we're going to be in Amsterdam, and they have, and Belgium. Amsterdam is supposed to have some nice, what do you call those? I can't think what they're called. You know what they're called. And then, maybe it's Ireland that has the lighthouse. So my plan is that every place we go, I wanted to have something that was like a bookmark. And obviously all the days at sea will have, we'll have a bunch of bookmark pages for days at sea, and those will all be the ships, so I know what went down there. And then I have a globe. I'm not sure why I have a globe, but I can always put that at the end and say that's my goal for the next trip, is I'm gonna see the globe, which is not gonna happen. But the only reason, as you know, well, if you know this, the only reason we're doing this trip is because of my broken leg and having a reason to celebrate that I've finally gotten over it and am walking again. So there it is. I gotta get that cover on it. I'm going to be putting more decorations on the front, I'm sure you can imagine. And I have a bunch of books on the places we're going to see that I'm going to cut out some art for on the front, I think, with those. And I'm really excited about what this journal is going to look like when it's done. Now you're saying to yourself, well, all you've got is some silver stuff stuck to it. Yep, that's all I have right now. But when I get back, I forgot to show you these. I did show them at one point, but these are little stickers, but they're stickers of stamps from different countries, and I think they're really something that I think will set off the pages from those countries. I don't think I'm going to take the whole book because it does duplicate, but I will show you some of these. Hopefully you can see how cool they are. There's the Arc de Triomphe. So on the day that we're there, we could just pull that one off and attach it. And I'm really tickled with these. I think they're going to be a lot of fun, and I'm going to make sure that I'm not taking all of these. I think I already said that. Oh, there's one that came off. You can see they look just like a stamp, don't they? This one's from Republic of France. So I'm thinking that's from France. I'm really tickled with these because I think they're really fun. And even if they don't match the country I'm going to, I still think they're interesting, and I think they'll make a nice, colorful impact in my journal. So there you have it, Sandy's travel journal that's taken forever to get going. I hope you enjoyed this, that you give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please tell your friends about me on social media because you know I love that. And thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.